You've seen how I got the raw materials for this project, the Easter egg loads. This is what the load will look like when it's finished. I can't see what I'm shooting, so I'm just hoping that it's in shot and in focus. But they're compressed piles of metal in a scrap load. So the process is very simple. This tray is got my weathering powders and stuff in it, chalks and whatever, and you can see last Easter's loads that were being made. I haven't got around to putting them into a car yet, or onto a load anyway. The reason I do it on my weathering tray is these ones look pretty bright and shiny. So that's what they look like to start with. They're very bright and shiny. When I weather something, all the leftovers fall into this tray, and there's all bits of scrap metal for future loads laying around in here, and it's all just getting dirty, some more dirty than others, and every now and again I build a load. So just to clear up a bit of working area here. The most enjoyable part of the process, of course, is eating the Easter eggs. Yeah, I recommend the chicken egg sized eggs. They seem to have just the right amount of silver foil. So, following this Easter, that's the pile of Easter egg wrappings that I had. Now there's all different sizes in here, but I'm just going to work with the, like I say, egg sized ones. Yeah. Which give you a bit of foil like this size. Now, obviously that is not what you want to see. The colours are just not right for a scrap load. So the first thing I do is fold it in half. Yeah, you will get tiny bits of colour poking through around the edges, around there, but most of it's hidden. And the bits that do poke through, I figure once they're toned down with the weathering powders and stuff, they'll look just like a crushed car. So once it's folded over, simply squash it up into a ball, and then make it as square as possible. Like I say, these make up these loads. Now I get 3 bales, I believe they're called bales, across. Now you can see they're quite a bit smaller than that at this stage. So 3 of these, the size they are currently, would not fit. But I'll leave it at that for the moment. So I'll just make a couple up. Again, nice gold one, just like that, fold it in half. Oops, torn, doesn't matter. Just get most of the colour to disappear, and then scrunch it up. Only tiny bits of colour will actually show through in the end. So you basically just squeeze it into a cube with your fingers, but they're still a bit rough and ready looking, but that's a good enough start for now. Now, I like my loads to be removable, so I've got quite a few of these Proto 2000 or Lifelike, I can't remember who made them. They're the same company, but what branding they're under, gondolas. So I'm making up these loads to suit that particular size of gondola, but I will do loads for other types. Three, you can see these are much quicker to put together than it was to eat all the Easter eggs. I did have some help from my wife and daughters. Leading up to Easter, I was looking out for these eggs everywhere, and I didn't see them. But fortunately, my eldest daughter Hannah, she spotted them somewhere, and they were presented on Easter Sunday. I don't think the shops had anywhere as much stock as they would normally due to the virus that's affecting everything, including, I'm sure, the amount of Easter eggs that were sold. But if this household is anything to go by, I don't think chocolate sales overall have been greatly affected. There's certainly been plenty eaten around here. So just spread them out, fold it over and scrunch it up, hiding as much of the colour as you can. That'll do for this stage for now. That one's a terrible shape, but don't worry, all will be revealed. Now, I've made a rookie mistake. I've used my next improvised tools as part of the stand for the camera, but bear with me for a minute. I'll move this stuff out of the way. And I should be able to get away with it with ones that I haven't moved. Excuse me. So there are our scrap loads in their raw form. Now, these blocks of aluminium I got from an aluminium shop where they sell all different shapes of aluminium. These were all offcuts. They're not as good as the 2, 3, 4 blocks or whatever they're called, but they're pretty cheap. I think they cost about $5 each, just the scrap value of the aluminium, and they're pretty square. They're not perfect cubes, but the there's generally edges that are square, near enough for this sort of project, and they're very useful for all sorts of other things. Weights, they're not super heavy, but they're heavy enough to hold buildings together and things like that when you're gluing. But for this process, I'll try and do it. Hopefully you can see. Like I say, I can't see what I'm filming, but simply I use them to act like the pressures, the compactors or whatever they call them, that do this job in reality. And normally I actually use 3, but I don't have 3 that are free at the moment, because like I say, they're handy for all sorts of jobs, and one of them is holding up the camera that's filming this at the moment. So you just work them until they're a nice sharp cube. There we go, we've got five bales there. Yeah, that's the load in the car. Now, hopefully I can get this out fairly easily. I haven't perfected this operation just yet. I need it something so that I can maybe a pin or something where I can, that'll be very hard to see, that I can grab hold of to lift it straight out. But that's the load. So I noticed a couple of these, oh, they're not falling off, so they can't be too bad. But the base is a bit of styrene that I've sprayed black. I might spray the one for this a brown, a rusty colour, but get a bit of styrene. Okay, so this is an offcut. So I'm sure there's a lot of very precise ways you could do this, or the way I'll probably end up doing it, which is the rag method, rough as guts. There's my scalpel. So I'm just going to copy straight from the previous load. I'll just put a notch in the styrene there. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah, all I've done is notch it, and once you take the knife away you can't see it. So I'm sure this isn't a new trick or anything, but just put a bit of pencil on there, then rub it with my finger, yeah, and a bit of spit, and the notch is now quite clear. Again, these blocks are handy for everything. I'll try and do this backwards so that you can see it. So my square is thicker than 40 thou, so I sort of need to have it hang down. I'm working from that edge, if I can see. Yeah. What I do is, with a sharp scalpel, you can feel the notch you put in. So I just sit the scalpel in the notch and move the square up to it. Make sure it's sitting square on the styrene, and score it across. There's no real magic here, so score it, snap it. There's the methods called score and snap. So we've got the length, now we need to get the width. You don't want it to sit too tight in the vehicle, because then it would be hard to get out if it was a really tight fit. So mark that end. Mark this end. Now, I'm not measuring or anything, because it's not, none of this is crucial. If I was doing a building or something, I'd be being a lot more cautious. So again, I sit the blade in the notch at this end, hold the ruler there, set the blade in the notch at that end, bring the ruler up to it, go back and check the first end that it still hasn't moved, back, and then score it. Now, the first, I haven't done a lot of this, but I found that the first pass of the knife is the most important, and it doesn't have to be heavy. But you leave a groove, so it's best to be accurate and light than heavy and inaccurate. So you make a light pass, and it puts the groove in, and the later passes will follow the blade. If you wander off the ruler in the first pass, it'll be very hard to keep the blade straight on subsequent passes. So, scored the styrene now, and hopefully it will snap, which it does. So you don't cut all the way through. So, give it a scrap. Now the car we're going to fit the load to. Width is okay, length is okay. Fits in there nicely. Like I say, I'm going to spray this a colour because the black you can't see when it's running around on a layout, and I'm sure the rusty colour you won't see running around, but white would show up through the floor, through the load. Now you've got to make sure the load's going to fit. Now I haven't squashed these enough, or one of these enough, because they're not sitting 3x3. How's that? Okay, they'll fit, but they're still a bit tight. Be fine if the load wasn't going to be removable, but as the load is to be removable, they need to sit freely. Okay, so I'm back. This is the previously white piece of styrene for sitting into the car, which I'm going to attach the load to. So I did say I was going to spray it a rusty colour, but I had a rattle can of Rust-Oleum black of some description sitting there, so I've used it. So we want to glue the cars to the loads to the base, but we don't want to glue the whole thing to the car. So get a bit of Glad wrap or cling wrap, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if this is a particularly unique trick or not. I got shown it by a mate. Put the Glad wrap in. It's very thin, so it won't affect the size of your load. And push the base in, and it'll stop any glue gluing to your car. So that's in. The paint's still a little bit tacky, but doesn't matter. I should wait, but I want to get this done and posted. So like I said, I'm going to use this Pacer Formula 560 canopy glue. It's the world's best according to the bottle, and I've certainly found it does the job. So I'm just going to try and put a little bit on here. There's got to be something here that I can clear the nozzle with. Oops, too much, but near enough. There's a little bit of offcut, so I'll use that to spread the glue on the base. Probably more glue than I wanted to put on first up, but again, what the heck. I'll probably put a little dab on the base of the pieces as I put them in as well. So it's as easy as that, just start placing them in. Okay, so they've all got some more Easter eggs to squish up. Just before I start, you see this one's got a paper label on it. You need to get rid of that. This was for a larger egg individually, so the paper won't scrunch up right. So let's take it out. Now, with these bigger ones, that's the standard size, I guess you'd call it, for these loads. So I'm just going to roughly slice the bigger egg wrap into smaller pieces. Looks like I'll get 3 out of that. Okay, well, I'm back. I'm not sure what you will have seen up until now. I'm not sure whether I'll be cutting this bit out that I'm speaking anyway. But when I went to turn the video off a second ago, it was already off, so I'm not sure. You've either seen a whole lot of video of me folding these, the Easter egg wrapping into these little cubes, speed it up, which was my intent, or I'm not sure what the last thing you will have seen was. But hopefully you saw a video of me loading this gondola and gluing the bales onto the base. They're all sitting there drying at the moment. This is the old load that was previously done, and these are the new bales that I've just squished up. And now they're in the basic cubic form, and now I'll just show you how I get them to the next point. So I get 4 of these aluminium blocks. You can use anything. I just happen to have been lucky to get these aluminium blocks, and I arrange them. Get these sort of slightly out of the way in a form like that, so you've got a square there that you can make infinitely small. And drop the block in, and squeeze it till it's about the right size. And at this stage it's sort of longer on one axis than the other two, so I just put it down flat and do the same again. It may take a bit. Right, we're back. As you can see, made up nearly enough blocks for the next load. With the magic of television, or whatever this is. Night has passed, and I've left the same shirt on for continuity's sake. But this load hopefully will have dried, so the next step is to remove it from the car, which hopefully won't be too difficult. No. Okay. For once it wasn't. Sometimes you end up with a small hole in the cling wrap, and the load doesn't come out cleanly, but it always will come out eventually. There will be a bit of glue. It's not too bad. It's leaked onto the cling wrap between the load and the plastic, but that has come off all right. And there we have our load. Try not to reflect too much in the mirror, in the camera I should say. Right, now we need to tone it down a bit, so too much crap, but hey. So, put all these other ones just in my weathering tray. And this will be very unscientific because it simply doesn't matter that much. It's scrap after all. It's not something that's going to be weathered in any particular pattern or any particular way. I'm assuming it's scrap metal, not this scrap aluminium, so I'll probably put a bit of rust on, but apart from that, some black. So these are Humbrol weathering powders, which I quite like. Just get some over the top. the main object of this is to tone down the really bright colours that are still there, and to stop the harsh reflections and that sort of stuff. So that's taken an edge off it already. Red oxide, what have we got? Rust. So we'll just put a little bit of rust on. Like I say, the reason that I do it over this tray is that all the spilt stuff ends up in the bottom of the tray and can just be used as general weathering muck. I reckon that's all I'm going to do. It's dirty. It's not as shiny as it was, but it still looks on top pretty. You can see the sides are quite bright because I haven't bothered with that because you're not going to see them. So the top you can just see is toned down. I hope it's coming out in the camera. I've got a mirror set up behind the screen so I can see what's going on. And there's a better angle, I think. And that's it. Apart from some little type of hook that I've still got to work out, but there's another load. I might finish off with shooting a little bit of footage of a few of these cars on the layouts. Several gondolas full of scrap here. The first one is the new load that we've just made. The second one is the old load that you saw before. Third and fourth loads made by cutting up pie dishes. And the final load is a commercially available one, which I think is made out of aluminium scrap that's been painted. I can't recall the brand at the moment, but I will. I hope. Motrack models, that's what it is. We're operating around a steel mill here, so the scrap is a raw material that we're placing on the high line to go into the blast furnace. Empty gondola there. Quickly shove it aside. There's some more of the no-track models loads. And shove all those on the back track. One last thing I'll show you. Something I do to some of my gondolas, if I could show you here, is just leave some rubbish in the bottom. Just makes it look like the gondola's been used in the past, and the loads sit down on top of that. I don't put any great piles of garbage in there, just the odd bit of timber or chips of whatever's in my weathering tray. Just glue it in, and then like I say, the proper loads just sit down over the top of it, and when you pull the load out, it's got something of interest for sitting in the bottom of the car. So that's it for this video, I think.